In this video, we are going to discuss the graphs of polynomial functions. Okay, so punta tayo directly dun sa different kinds of functions wherein is-sketch natin yung graph and we are going to compare them. So unang-una, we have q of x equals x minus 4. We have r of x equals x squared minus 1. S of x equals x cubed minus 2x squared minus x plus 2. So, etong mga functions na ito, they have different degrees, no? The degree of the first function is 1. So, we call this as a linear function. The degree of this function is 2. So, this is a quadratic function. The degree of s of x is 3. So, this is a cubic function. Then, we are going to, let's sketch the graph of these functions. And let's see kung anong itsura nila. And then, we are going to compare. Unang-una, yung q of x, since it's a function of x, pwede nating tawagin din na y equals, ano yun? X minus 4. Okay, x minus 4. This is Graphmatica, no, yung ginagamit ko for graphing. So, ito yung graph niya. Ito yung itsura ng graph niya. It's a line. Kaya nga tinawag na linear function because its graph is a line. Okay? Tandaan natin yan. Ito yung graph ng x minus 4, linear function. Yung sunod naman is a quadratic function. This is x squared minus 1. Copy-paste lang natin. Okay. Ayan, x squared minus 1. Tingnan natin, palitan natin yung x. Ayun. So, yung, eto siya, this one, meaning yan, exponent, no, raised to 2. Okay. Tingnan natin yung graph niya. Ayan. So, this is a parabola. Okay, parabola, yung graph ng quadratic function. Ayan ang itsura. How about this cubic function? Okay, copy-paste natin. Palitan lang natin yung x kasi yung font hindi nababasa ng Graphmatica. So, x raised to 3. Then we have minus 2x raised to 2 minus x plus 2. Ayan. Okay, so ito yung graph, yung green, this one. This is the graph of the cubic function. Okay. Sagutan natin yung mga tanong dito. Alright, ito siya yung graph. Okay. Describe the graphs of the three functions. What similarities can you observe? Okay. Similarities. Okay. Yung graph, of course, ng linear function, ito yung kanina, yung x minus 1. This is a line, no? Line. Ito naman, etong quadratic function, yung x squared, it's a parabola, it's a curve. Okay? Pa-curve siya. Yan. And also, yung cubic function, etong yung may degree ng 3, it's also a curve. Okay? It's also a curve. Determine the x and y intercepts based on the graphs. Yung x-intercept class, ito yung point na nag-i-intersect yung graph sa x-axis. Okay? So, x-intercept. So, unahin natin yung linear function. Yung x-intercept niya ito, 4. Okay? X equals 4. Ito yung x-intercept niya. Yung y-intercept naman niya, ito kung saan siya nag-cross sa y-axis. That's the y-intercept. Yan. The y equals negative 4. Okay? So, meron siyang isang x-intercept, no? Isang x-intercept at saka isang y-intercept. Ayan, that's the linear function. How about the quadratic function, yung parabola? Ito yung x-intercept niya, negative 1 at saka positive 1. Okay, ito yan, no? So, dalawa yung kanyang x-intercept. No? Yung quadratic function yan, yung degree ay 2. Dalawa din ang kanyang x-intercept. Ngayon naman yung x to the power of 3, yung cubic function, yung degree ay 3. Bilangin natin yung x-intercept niya. X-intercept niya ay negative 1, positive 1, at saka positive 2. So, tatlong x-intercept. Yung y-intercept naman niya, eto, yung nag-cross siya sa y, that's positive 2, no? When y equals 2. Yung y-intercept naman ng quadratic function, yung parabola, eto yan. When y equals negative 1. Okay? So, yun ang graphs nila. Describe any pattern that you notice between the degree of the functions and the corresponding number of zeros. So, ayun kanina, yun, no? Yung degree compare natin, yung pattern ng degree ng function at saka yung number ng zeros niya. Number of zeros, yung zeros kasi that's the Xintercept, no? That's, the zeros are the Xintercept. Okay, where y is 0. Okay. Ayan. So, we have here, yung linear function, the degree is 1. So, ilang zero ba meron dito? Isa lang, no? This is the Xintercept and that is x equals 4. Okay? Tinatawag na 0 yan because y is 0. Kung sa graph yan, y is 0. Or the function is 0 when x equals 4. Yan, isang 0 lang, isang Xintercept. Dito naman sa quadratic function in the parabola, ang quadratic, the degree is 2. And the graph has 2 zeros or 2 Xintercept. We have -1 and +1. Okay? Dito naman sa cubic function, we have, ilan ba? The degree is 3. Ano? The degree is 3 and the zeros are -1, +1, and +2. So, meron siyang tatlong Xintercept. So, therefore, we can say that, di ba, sabi nga natin, no, based on our previous discussions on the zeros of polynomial functions, zeros of polynomial, di ba, we based on the degree of the polynomial. So, the degree of the polynomial tells us the maximum number of zeros. Okay? So, based on this activity, dito nalalaman natin, it tells us na kung ano pala yung degree ng polynomial, ayun din yung number ng Xintercept. Diba? Xintercept. So, yung degree ng 1, ay linear function, yung degree niya ay 1. So, isa din yung Xintercept niya. While the quadratic function, the degree is 2, dalawa din ang Xintercept niya. And the cubic function, the degree is 3, tatlo din yung Xintercept niya. Okay? And so, let's proceed here. Pag-usapan natin yung Xintercepts of a polynomial functions. Ayan. So, Xintercepts of a polynomial function, those are the points or point, no, where the graph intersects the x-axis. Yung sabi ko nga kanina. So, these are actually the zeros of the function. So, the zeros of the function indicate its Xintercept. Halimbawa, the Xintercepts of the function p of x equals x cubed minus 2x squared minus 3x are x equals -1, x equals 0, and x equals 3. Paano ba nalaman na ito yung zeros? Madali lang. I-solve mo muna ito, no? You can use factoring or the rational root theorem, no? In solving for the zeros of this polynomial. Okay? Pwede naman factor out mo yung x kasi common yung x, no? And then, yung remaining, yung depressed polynomial, ifa-factor mo lang din. Kasi quadratic na lang yon. Okay? So, solving that, hindi na natin i-discuss dito. We have a different video lesson that discussed how to get the zeros of the polynomial. That's actually our previous lesson. So, solving this, no, getting the zeros of the polynomial functions, yung zeros niya ay -1, 0, at saka 3. So, ibig sabihin nito, if x equals -1, then p of -1, isa-substitute mo yan dito sa original polynomial function. So, pag-substitute mo, when you solve that, that is equal to 0. Okay? Kaya siya tinawag na zeros of a polynomial kasi kapag sinubstitute mo itong -1, yung polynomial, yung polynomial function ay magiging 0. Right? So, another, if x equals 0, then p of 0 equals 0. If x equals 3, then p of 3 equals 0. So, yun ang ibig sabihin ng zeros of the polynomial. Right? And so, those zeros are actually the Xintercepts of the graph of the polynomial function. Okay. So thus the graph of P of x intersects the x-axis at the points x equals -1, x equals 0, and x equals 3. So anong point ba ito sa graph? Okay. So if x equals -1, kung ang x-intercept ay -1, no? X equals -1, meaning to say the point on the coordinate system is, on the coordinate plane, is -1, 0. Sulat ko muna, ha? Okay. That's, eto, kung sa graph yan, yung x niya ay -1, tapos yung y niya ay 0. When x equals 0, that's 0, 0. Okay? 0 ang y, 0 din ang x. It's an owl. Right? When x equals 3, then yung x is 3, and then yung y is 0. Ayan. xy kasi yung coordinates, ha? xy. Alright? So, these are the points in the coordinate plane wherein yung graph ng P of x ay magkukross ng x-axis. Okay? Kaya tinawag na Xintercept. Ayan. So, these are the Xintercept. Ito yung mga points na yan. Ayan. Okay? Remember, wag malito ha, when we talk about Xintercept, that does not mean that x equals 0. Hindi, ha? X-intercept meaning y equals 0. And if it's y-intercept, meaning x equals 0. Ayan. So, pag-usapan natin yung y-intercept of a polynomial function. So, when we talk about the y-intercept, it is obtained by evaluating the function x equals 0. So, example, the y-intercept of this function is y equals 0 because P of 0, pag isubstitute mo yung 0 na x, diba? X equals 0. Ito yung isubstitute natin. Kung 0 ang x, okay? Kung 0 ang x, ano yung magiging y? Okay. So, substitute natin yung 0 dyan sa lahat ng x, and solving that, it gives us 0. So, meaning, for this polynomial function, the y-intercept is y equals 0. It means further that yung y-intercept niya, or the graph crosses the y-axis at the point 0, 0. Yung x is 0 given by the definition of y-intercept, and the value of y is 0. Okay? So, eto yan. This is the y-intercept of the graph. So, the domain of a polynomial function, when we say domain, those are the values of x, no? Permissible values of x. Yung pwedeng values ng x. So, for a polynomial function, the domain is the set of all real numbers. Kaya nga, when we graph polynomial functions, it's a continuous curve. Okay? Continuous curve. Walang putol-putol, no? Hindi siya putol-putol yung graph. Because the domain of the polynomial, lahat ng x, okay? Lahat ng values ng x, no? Lahat ng real numbers ay pwede nating ipalit kay x as a value. So, walang restrictions when it comes to values of x ng isang polynomial functions. Okay. So, example. Let's graph f of x equals x squared minus 4x minus 5. Okay. So, the function is a quadratic in the form of, this is actually a quadratic function, no? Kasi the degree is 2. Highest exponent ng variable ay 2, so that's a quadratic function. So, we know already that the graph of a quadratic function is a parabola. Okay? Parabola that either opens upward or opens downward. So, f of x, it is in the form of f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So, ito yung values ng a, b, at saka c. So, therefore, it has a vertex at hk. Alam natin yan. No? Sa grade 9, mayroong, di ba, quadratic function. Vertex yan ay hk, where h is given by the formula h equals negative b over 2a. So, this is the value of b. And this is yung A. And yung K natin, malalaman natin by solving the function of h, ano? So, f of h. So, meaning kung ano magiging value ng h, yun yung isa-substitute mo dito sa x. And you solve that, and that would be the value of k.